Okay, so if there's deep dive, we're looking at something that on the surface seems pretty simple.
Yeah.
A Christmas-themed workbook,
Mm-hmm.
and it's for kids, like 3 and up. We've got a whole bunch of these activity pages.
Right.
But what we really want to do today is kind of go beyond just, the coloring and the matching, all the things you usually see in these workbooks.
Yeah.
And think about what this workbook can actually tell us about how young children learn.
Mm.
So we're going beyond the Christmas cheer.
Right. The festive.
Yeah, the festive stuff, to really look at the developmental skills
Yeah.
that this workbook is designed to build.
Exactly. At first glance, you see all this fun stuff, coloring, matching. You think, oh, this is just to keep kids busy during the holidays.
Yeah.
But when you actually look at all the different activities together, you see a pattern. It's actually a really smart approach to early learning.
Yeah.
And they've just, cleverly disguised it in this fun Christmas theme.
Yeah, it's comprehensive.
It is.
We're seeing everything. We've got alphabet matching, number tracing, color by number, shape identification.
Wow.
Even those those line tracing activities that are, really important for that age.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they've got months of the year.
Oh, interesting.
Vegetable matching. Kind of an odd one for Christmas, I thought.
Yeah, not very festive, but
Hey, why not,
I
right?
guess you got to get your veggies in.
And then, of course, to top it all off, they have a Christmas maze.
Of course, every good workbook needs a maze.
Exactly.
Keeps them entertained.
So let's jump right in. We'll start with the alphabet.
Okay.
Activity 2 is called Alphabet Match. And what they have here is they present an uppercase Y and Z.
Right?
And these are next to outlines of gift boxes.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, very festive. And what the kids have to do is write the lowercase equivalents in those outlines.
So they're matching the uppercase to the lowercase.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a classic early learning activity, right? Getting them familiar with the different forms of the letters. Yeah. But what I find interesting here is how they use the visual of the gift box.
Right.
For a little kid, a letter is kind of an abstract symbol.
Yeah, it's just a shape.
Exactly. It's just a squiggle on a page. But when you connect it with something concrete, something exciting, something related to Christmas, like a gift, it makes it easier for them to remember.
Right, it gives it meaning.
Yeah, exactly. And I also noticed they chose Y and Z. Those are, kind of the less common letters. So
Right.
It makes sense that they would focus on those.
Yeah, they probably need more practice with those ones.
Exactly.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about numbers.
Okay.
So we have activity 4,
Hmm.
and it's just called numbers.
Okay. Straightforward.
And this one has kids tracing the words 9 and 10.
Okay.
Then later on, in activity 10,
Yeah.
there's a color by number activity.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it has them color the correct number of stars next to the numerals 7, 8, 9, and 10.
I see.
So if you think about how, little kids develop these numeracy skills, it's interesting, right? These two activities are actually working on different parts of it.
Yeah.
So you've got the tracing of the words 9 and 10
Right.
that's introducing them to the written form of the number.
Right. So they're not just seeing the numeral, they're
Right.
learning the word that goes with it.
Yeah. But then the color by number is more about, getting that concept of quantity.
Right. Actually visualizing it.
Yeah, they're seeing the number, and then they have to count out that many stars and color them.
I see.
And did you notice, too?
What's that?
The numbers in the color by number go from 7 to 10.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like a little step up in difficulty.
Yeah, they're gradually increasing the challenge.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Okay. Next up, we've got shape recognition. And this one's pretty straightforward. It's activity 15, and it's called shapes.
Love it.
And the instructions are basically just to color, trace, and then draw a rectangle.
All right, so it's simple but effective.
Yeah. But I think there's, more to it than meets the eye.
I think you're right. What do you see there?
Well, when they're doing all those different things with the rectangle, right?
Yeah.
They're coloring it, they're tracing it, they're actually drawing it themselves. It's like they're really learning what a rectangle is,
Absolutely, yeah.
not just by seeing it.
Right, they're using multiple senses.
Exactly. So it's like visual through the coloring,
Yeah.
kinesthetic through the tracing.
Creative through the drawing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they're building a much stronger understanding of the shape.
I see.
Okay, let's move on to fine motor skills.
Okay.
Activity 22 is called horizontal lines. And it's basically just a bunch of dotted lines connecting different Christmas images.
Oh, so like a dot-to-dot kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's just lines.
Just lines. Okay.
So, they've got holly connecting to a bell, a sleigh to a reindeer, a snow globe with Santa to one with a snowman, a wrapped gift to a stocking.
Okay, so it's all Christmas themed.
Yeah. But, when you think about it, this is really just pre-writing practice.
Oh, absolutely.
Actually,
Disguised as a fun activity.
yeah, it's crucial for developing that fine motor control and the hand-eye coordination they'll need for handwriting later.
Makes sense.
So by following those lines,
Yeah.
they're strengthening those tiny little muscles in their hands
Right.
and getting used to making those, controlled movements.
It's all about those building blocks, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's, way more fun than just doing, boring lines on a page.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so now they're getting into the concept of time.
Oh, interesting.
Activity 29 is months of the year.
Okay.
And what they've got is these candies. Yeah, each one is labeled with a month. So like January, February, March, April.
Okay.
And those words are outlined with dotted lines for tracing.
I see.
And then, of course, they get to color the candies, too.
Of course. Got to keep it fun.
Yeah. Now, I thought it was interesting that they're introducing months, this early.
Yeah, that's pretty young to be thinking about months.
Right. Like, I'm not sure a 3-year-old really grasps, the concept of a year.
Yeah, the whole cycle of it.
But what do you think? Is there a benefit to this early exposure, even if they don't get it completely?
Well, I think even if they don't fully understand it yet, just seeing those words, hearing them, associating them with these fun, colorful candies,
Yeah.
it starts to build a foundation.
Right. Like they're getting familiar with them.
Exactly. It's like planting a seed, right? Even if it doesn't sprout right away, it's there.
Yeah.
And then later on, when they start learning about the calendar and all that,
Right.
those words will already be somewhat familiar.
Yeah. And plus, they are tracing the word. So
Oh, right. That's true.
it's helping with their literacy skills, too.
Exactly. So many benefits packed into one activity.
All right, let's move on to activity 37.
Okay.
This one's called vegetables matching.
Vegetables. Okay.
Yeah, so they have these like bright, colorful illustrations of different vegetables, like a tomato, broccoli, pumpkin,
Okay.
cauliflower, and a carrot.
All right. A nice variety.
And next to each vegetable is its shadow silhouette.
Oh, interesting.
So the kids have to draw a line to match the vegetable to its correct shadow.
I see.
And I thought this one was really interesting because it seems like it's, working a different part of their brain.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What do you see in this one?
Well, for one thing, they're developing their visual discrimination skills, which is, being able to spot the subtle differences between things.
Right.
And they have to really look closely at the shapes of the vegetables to find the matching shadow.
Yeah, it's not as easy as it sounds.
Right. But it's also about understanding object permanence.
Oh, explain that one.
So it's the idea that an object still exists even when you can't see it or when it looks different.
Okay.
Like in this case, the vegetable is the same, but its appearance changes because of the shadow.
That's a really good point.
So they're learning that even though something looks different,
Yeah.
it can still be the same thing.
I hadn't even thought about that.
It's pretty deep stuff for a kid's workbook,
Right.
but they're learning all these fundamental concepts without even realizing it.
Okay, so finally, we've reached the last activity.
Ah, the grand finale.
Activity 51. The Christmas maze.
Classic.
And of course, Santa needs help finding his sleigh.
Of course he does.
Mazes are always a hit with kids.
They are, and I think there's a reason for that.
What do you think it is?
Well, mazes are actually great for developing problem-solving skills
Right.
and spatial reasoning.
Right, because they have to, figure out the path. Avoid the dead ends.
And plan their route.
Yeah.
It encourages them to think logically, to be persistent, and to kind of visualize the solution in their head.
It's like a game.
Yeah, exactly. It's a fun way to challenge their brains.
So when you look at this whole workbook, it's amazing, right?
It is, yeah.
This one little Christmas workbook
Mm-hmm.
is touching on so many skills
So many.
for kids as young as 3.
Yeah, it's really impressive.
I mean, we're talking alphabet recognition, early literacy, through all that tracing,
Mm-hmm.
number recognition, both written and numerical,
Right.
counting, shape, identification.
Don't forget those fine motor skills.
Oh, yeah, those fine motor skills and pre-writing.
Yeah, all essential for later on.
And then even just that, basic introduction to the concept of time
Right, getting them thinking about months and things.
Visual discrimination,
Right,
matching,
understanding shadows.
problem solving, spatial reasoning.
Wow, that's quite a list.
It's a lot.
It really shows you how much thought goes into these, seemingly simple activities.
Yeah, and the Christmas theme just ties it all together
Absolutely.
and makes it fun.
It makes you realize that learning can happen anywhere, even in the middle of all the holiday excitement.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be boring worksheets.
Exactly.
So for you, listening this
Yeah.
deep dive, into a kid's Christmas workbook,
Mm-hmm.
it's really about showing you how much learning is happening all around us.
Right, in our everyday lives.
Yeah, even in things like, holiday activities.
Exactly. It's often hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, so many subtle opportunities to learn.
I bet you could even find it in, a nature activity book.
Oh, yeah.
Or even just like a set of cooking instructions. It's
Right.
all about, looking for those embedded skills.
And maybe thinking about how those different themes, those contexts,
Mm-hmm.
can help us learn and develop at any age, really.
That's a great point. It's not just for kids.
Right.
It makes you wonder, what other everyday things in your life are actually teaching you without you even realizing it?
That's a good question to think about.
It is. What seemingly ordinary objects or activities are contributing to your own development in ways you haven't fully appreciated?
I have to ponder that one.
I think we all should.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me.